Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Abhi. Welcome to Saturday Brunch LR. Today's class, it's all about going through three LR questions, logical reasoning questions, at a leisurely brunch discussion pace. Um, think, you're on the Upper East Side with your friends. You're sipping on your coffee. I got my morning coffee still. I'm still waking up. Coffee. And then we got three LR questions, three logical reasoning questions. There are three different difficulties. So there's a level one, a level three, and a level five. Shout out to Jen and the rest of the ops team that make our wonderful syllabi. They're catered to every class. And folks, for those of you who haven't been here before, and I have a feeling there's a few of you who haven't been here before, because there's 230 people in this Zoom lobby. But I also see some familiar faces, and we got the demon team here too. So if you haven't come to a demon class before, every class is different. They all have little themes. They all are targeted to different kinds of learning. So I would say if I could summarize this class in one sentence, it would be uh, showing you that you can attack higher difficulty level LR questions, like a three or a five, the same way you'd attack a level one. And newsflash, right? Again, if you're new to the demon, if you're not new, this is not going to be news to you. I'm going to sound like a broken record. All the team here, Kaylee, Amina, Billy, Taylor, we I think truly get paid by like 5 cents, a nickel every time we tell people to slow down. We tell people to slow down and read carefully, and actually 5 cents get direct deposited to our bank account from Ben and Nate every time we say that. No, I'm kidding, right? If we were to get paid every time we told people to slow down and read carefully, and then if we were to also get paid every time that helped somebody get better at the LSAT, we would be so unbelievably rich. I'm telling you, folks. I'm telling you. Um, that's the whole game plan, right? There's no tips, there's no tricks. I'm not going to teach you a shortcut. I'm not going to teach you, oh, well, if the first letter of the question starts with a Z, then it's the answer is always D, right? Like that's stupid, right? That's stupid. This is a reading test. You're going to read carefully. You're going to read the passage. You're going to read the argument really, really slowly and carefully. You're going to make sure you understand it. And then you're going to read the question, make a prediction based on what you read in the passage. And then guess what, folks? You're going to pick the right answer, right? I think the biggest question we get the most often is how can I get better at the LSAT? And our answer is always slow down, read carefully, make sure you understand what you're reading, and then stop freaking picking the wrong answers, guys. Because if you're mad at how many questions you're missing, if you're mad at how your score is going, your progress is going, chances are, and this is going to sound like a smart ass oversimplification, you're missing too many questions, right? That to us tells us you're doing too many questions. You're doing, say, 20 questions in a section, but you're missing half of them. So my question is, why don't you just try to do 10, get them right, and then maybe think about number 11, number 12, number 13, right? For instance. Anyway, that all starts with our philosophy, which is slow down, slow the heck down, read carefully, pick the right answer. Make sure you have a reason for picking the right answer. Make sure you have a reason for eliminating the wrong four. And if you do that, no matter what level difficulty the question is, one, three, or five, whatever, there's also two and four. No matter how hard the question is supposedly supposed to be, you will get it right every time. I guarantee it. If you follow our advice, which is just to slow down and understand what you're reading, which is, I guess, the groundbreaking advice. So I don't know. I never understood it. If you guys have questions, we have a great team here. Again, shout out to Kaylee, Amina, Billy, and Taylor. They are teachers. They are tutors. We all do the same thing. They just happen to be helping me out today with my class. Next time on the free class, I'll help one of them out by answering some questions in the chat. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for showing up on a Saturday afternoon. And thanks to everybody. Like, I get it, folks. It's 12 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon on the East Coast. God bless you if you're on the West Coast. You got up even earlier than me. 9 a.m., you're ready to go, right? So chances are you want this. Like, chances are you want to get a little bit better at this because you're giving me your weekend. You're giving me your Saturday afternoon, your Saturday morning. You could spend it with family, friends, literally doing anything else. So my hunch is you want to get better. And my hunch is that maybe you've tried other people or different strategies, and maybe they haven't really helped the same way that you thought. And unfortunately, like, I hate that this is groundbreaking, but our whole thing is like, if you just slow down and understand what you're reading, you're going to get better at the test. So come on this journey with us. I'll show you. I'll show you how it works. Hopefully with some volunteers. I like to do volunteers, so that's kind of the game plan here. So how I usually run class for everybody new that's joining me, take a seat, take a back seat here. Just watch, just learn, enjoy, take it all in. Do I have a volunteer to help me on this first question? If you don't have the syllabus up, first of all, don't know how you got in the Zoom room because you had to have the syllabus up. Get in the Zoom room. But if you don't, it's the Saturday Brunch LR. It's today, Saturday, January 18th. Our first question is Dunnerts. William, I saw your hand first. So welcome back, Will. William came to my class on Thursday. I also teach on Thursdays, and all of our staff teachers. There's pretty much like a million classes all week. So no matter what day of the week works best for you, what time of the week works best for you, you can always find a class to study. But William's going to show you how it's done. He's going to be my first volunteer. So, okay, William, take it easy, right? It's a level 1, so it's going to be fairly easy, but you're going to do what we do in the back 9. You're going to do what we do on every question, which is going to read the argument. You're going to tell me what you think. We're going to decide, hey, is there a glaring flaw or is there something that we can prove here? And then we're going to make a prediction about the question, and we're going to pick the right freaking answer every time. So go ahead. Without further ado here, let me share my screen. And it's over here, Safari Dunnerts. And the question is Dunnerts. So my goal is to not interrupt William. But hey, you guys know I'm a yapper, right? Anybody who's come to my class before, I'm a yapper. And turns out that's kind of why you're here, to hear me yap. So anyway, William, go ahead.
All right. Let me get it up here. Cool. So it says for the first few weeks after birth, the Dunnart has such poor control over its respiratory muscles that it cannot use them to breathe. Um, is there any chance I could volunteer for a different question if I've already done this one? Or do you want me to just keep trying to do it?
I mean, hey, if you've already done it, swap somebody in. Yeah, Juan's ready.
Could I
Or
just
Taylor.
do
Actually,
could I do the second one instead that we do today? So I don't
sure.
want
You'll
to
get in the queue. I don't know if it was Juan or Taylor. I think it might have been Taylor that actually had his hand up before, but I don't know. Up to you guys. Was it Taylor? Juan's a gentleman. He says, Taylor, go ahead. Taylor Bouchard, all you.
Thank you, Juan. Okay.
Team
So
player.
it
Team
says
player.
for the first few weeks after birth, the Dunnart has such poor control over its respiratory muscles that it cannot use them to breathe. Okay. Instead, this tiny marsupial breathes through its thin skin, which gradually thickens as the Dunnart matures inside its mother's pouch. The Dunnart is unique among warm-blooded animals, the rest of which need thick skin throughout their lives to maintain body temperature and reduce water loss. Okay, and then it
Wow.
says the question asks,
Well,
or do you want me
before you get to the question, Taylor, let me just
to?
ask
Okay.
you, what do you think? Based on what you just read, is there a flaw that's jumping out at you? Are they confusing, for instance, like correlation for causation? Are they confusing sufficient for necessary? Are they confusing, I don't know, like are they generalizing? It happened to Taylor, so it's got to happen to Abhi, right? Like, what are they doing here? What's the problem? Is there anything wrong with this argument, or does it kind of make sense? It's just a list of facts.
Yeah, it says that for the first few weeks, the Dunnart has poor control over its respiratory muscles, so and it can't use them. And then it says, but these tiny marsupials breathe through their skin. So I'm automatically thinking, well, just because they breathe through their skin doesn't mean that their respiratory muscles still can't work improperly.
Sure. I will warn you that it's kind of just stated as a fact that this is the case. And I don't know how Dunnerts work. I kind of have to take the author's word for it here, or take the
Okay.
argument's word for it here. If they presented something that made me doubt that, then I would be like, oh, geez, now I don't know, right? But for now,
So,
like they've just told
okay.
us, look, they can't breathe on their own. Okay, I take that as a fact. And then say, instead, they breathe through their thin skin, and then their skin gradually thickens. Cool.
Mhm.
Okay. So let me
And
ask you:
then,
does that mean that they're breathing through their skin for the entirety of their lives, or is it just when they're super super young?
I mean, it says when they mature is whenever their skin thickens. So,
Yes.
I mean, I don't think it necessarily means that they're breathing, in one particular way for their entire
Right.
life.
Right. And so then the next sentence says, oh, this makes them unique because most animals need thick skin to stay warm, right? Well, agree. Like humans fall into that category, right? If our skin was thinner, we'd be shivering, we'd be breathing. So let me ask you then, does that actually make the Dunner unique?
No, I
Its skin
mean,
eventually thickens, right?
yeah,
So the Dunnerts,
amongst the marsupials, right? Or is it talking specifically about
it says the Dunnerts
warm-blooded
unique among
animals?
warm blooded animals,
Okay.
the rest of which need thick skin throughout their lives. Do we have evidence to show that the Dunnart doesn't need thick skin throughout its life, or do we have evidence that shows the Dunnart only has thin skin when it's super young?
The former.
The latter, right? We only have evidence showing that the Dunnart needs thin skin when it's only super young, because we're actually specifically told that its skin thickens as it gets older. Something to consider. Do you agree?
I think it's something to consider.
Something to consider, right? And it's like we can't conclude anything here. I'm just spitballing, right? I'm brainstorming. But if we're told, look, the Dunnart can't breathe when it's young, okay, fair enough. It has this novel way of breathing, but it eventually gets normal skin uh, when it gets old, like as it gets older in its mother's pouch, right? It's kind of a jump to me to say that it's unique among warm-blooded animals, the rest of which need thick skin, because there's a world where the Dunnart skin gets just as thick as you and yours and mine, right? There is also
Right.
a world where it doesn't. We don't know. We're missing information, right? So if you could add a sentence, I like to say the LSAT's like your dumbest coworker, and I mean that with all the love in the world, right? But we've all worked with that person. They're well intentioned. They mean really well. They're relatively competent. They're trying their best. When they write emails, sometimes they just leave stuff out. Relevant information is just left out. So this person, say you work at a zoo, this person's writing you an email that's like, hey, here's some facts about the Dunnart, right? They've left out a line in their email. They've left out, does the Dunnart skin thicken point that it becomes normal like everybody else, or does it stay relatively thin throughout its life? We need to know that in order to figure out if that conclusion is true or not. The Dunnart's unique. We don't know. It could be unique or it could not be unique. So there's no flaw here necessarily. They're not confusing correlation for causation, right? You've all read like those sentences that are like, oh, this study shows that this thing happens, therefore this chemical must cause cancer or whatever. It's like, wow, geez, I don't know, man, right? You've only shown me that there's a correlation here. You haven't proven causation. There's nothing like that here. There's no like named flaw here. The logical fallacies we learn in high school English. Instead, it's the second kind of thing. It's your best intentioned coworker writing you an email and leaving something out. So we've kind of identified what they've left out, Taylor. Do you agree? Is that a fair statement?
Yes. Right.
Okay. And so that's going to probably inform not only our prediction of what the question is, but also our prediction of like what the question is going to ask us to do. Now, it's really cool, guys. If you just read carefully and understand things, you can actually start to predict the questions because the LSAT is so predictable, folks. Go ahead and read me the question here.
Okay, so it says, which one of the following, if true, most helps explain how newborn Dunnarts manage to survive despite their thin skins?
Okay, I was wrong. It doesn't have anything to do with whether their skin gets thicker or not. I was wrong. First to admit it. Instead, it's asking you a much simpler question. How do they manage to survive despite their thin skin, Taylor? Just in your own words,
Through
just tell me.
maturation?
Um, well, they're protected by their mother's pouch, and then they breathe through their thin skin. Question mark. I don't know. Do you agree?
Then they just are in their mother's pouch. That's how they're surviving.
Yes, I think it's heavily implied that they just hang out in their mother's pouch until their skin gets thick enough to like be a critter,
Yeah.
right? Out in the world, right? So that's our prediction here. And again, it was a much simpler implication, much simpler prediction here, which is, oh wait, like what must be true here for this Dunnart to survive? Well, their pouch, like the pouch has to be helping in some way, right? Um oh, I just saw something in the chat. Isn't it better to read the question than the passage? Disagree. Disagree. You should read the passage first because that's what the question's about. That's what the whole question's about. That's what the answer choices are about. Um, I'll let maybe some of our moderators here jump in with some opinions, but Taylor and I will continue on this. Um, cool. So Taylor, that's a great prediction, right? Their pouch, their mother's pouch helps them, right? Cool. We're just gonna find that answer choice. Go ahead.
So the Dunnart's respiratory muscles begin to develop a few days after birth. The Dunnart's body temperature is higher
Well, so wait,
than
let's practice making a decision about every answer choice we read, right? So A, how do you feel about it? Yay or nay? Is it right or wrong?
nay.
Why?
Well, because I think, well, first of all, my intuition is that it goes against our prediction. And so I'm obviously trying
Yeah.
to find my prediction first, but
Yes.
Um,
But there's a reason for that, right? Your prediction is founded, and folks, this is for everybody talking in the chat of why don't we read the question first? Like Taylor's prediction is grounded in his understanding of the passage. Every question on the LSAT is going to ask you essentially, did you understand what you read or not? His prediction is a proxy, is an example of how well he understood what he read. He immediately knew as soon as he read the question, oh, how do they manage to survive? Their mother's pouch uh, helps protect them, right? So now
yeah.
he's just looking for that. Now you're looking for that. And so that's a great reason to dismiss A. It's just not what you predicted. But it's also,
Even
yeah,
in A, even even if that's true, there's still a possibility for a predator to, I don't know, kill the baby dunnart before their thick skin has come into play.
yes, right. So even if their lungs work, that actually doesn't tell us anything about their
Oh yeah,
skin.
lungs work. Sorry, my mistake.
Well, I mean, yeah, but same problem, right? Like A is telling us, hey, their lungs start to work after a few hours. It's like, okay, cool. That doesn't address the whole skin issue, right? They'll get cold and they'll lose all their water, right? So the answer has to be how does it stop them from how does it help them maintain their body temperature and reduce water loss? Well, their pouch has to help them do those things, and the fact that their lungs develop quickly or not just doesn't help us with that, right? If they leave the mother's pouch, even with working lungs, their skin's too thin still. So A can't be it. What about B?
Dunnart's body temperature is higher than that of many other warm-blooded animals. I don't feel like there's anything in the passage that would support this, if even if it were true.
It's all about maintaining body temperature, right? It doesn't matter how high your body temperature starts. If your skin is too thin to maintain it, then you're still kind of screwed. You're still not going to make it outside of mama's pouch, right? Cool. So can't be B.
Okay, and then the adult Dunnerts experience more heat and water loss through their skin than other adult marsupials do. I don't even think we're talking about adults,
We have no
right?
information on whether adults. Yeah, we just don't know, right? This could be true. This could not be true. There's just information that's not in the passage. So
And it has nothing to do with why newborns are able to survive.
exactly, exactly.
Um, D says that its mother's pouch keeps a newborn Dunnart warm and reduces water loss through its skin. Okay, so
This is the
I
winner.
feel like that matches the prediction.
Almost verbatim what you predicted, Taylor. Almost verbatim what you predicted, right? Because again, you understood the passage, you understood what you read, and you're like, okay, well, there's a couple holes here, right? We're assuming that the mother's pouch helps them with this, and then we're assuming that their skin eventually gets thick enough to like be a normal little critter, right? We're told neither of those things. Here they're zeroing in on the newborns and how they survive. So that's a mother's pouch situation. And D tells us exactly what must be true, right? Or what is probably true about this mother's pouch. It's probably helping with the problems that were stated in the passage, right? Maintaining body temperature, reducing water loss. That's great. That's a perfect answer to it.
And then E says some Dunnerts live where daytime temperatures are high and the climate is dry. I don't think we read anything in the passage that might suggest that those affect why or why not a Dunnart would live or die.
Yeah. And again, right, if your skin's not thick enough to keep you warm, and if your skin's not thick enough to keep the water inside your body, it doesn't matter where you live. It's not going to work out, right? It's not going to work out. You're gonna have to solve for that somehow. The pouch solves for this, right? D solves one of our problems here. Taylor, I have a question for you. I think somebody in the chat asked, "How do you make a prediction?" What do you think? What's your opinion on this? As somebody who just made a prediction, how do you make a prediction?
Well, so like if I feel like if I'm reading something, like I'll read the first sentence and I'll understand it, and then when I read the second sentence, I try and understand that sentence independently, and then I'm also like, okay, well, how does this relate to the first sentence that I just read? And so
Yeah,
like I'll make it like I'll try and see like, oh, is there a connection or is there not a connection? If there is a connection, I usually I just kind of take it for what it is and then
yeah,
keep reading. And then if there's not a connection, I'm like, well, why is there not a connection? Like, are there, is there's something wrong with this? And so then like if there is something wrong with it, what is wrong with it? And then I
yeah,
kind of like just try and fill in the blank.
yeah. Um,
Um, yeah.
that's great, right? I think like ultimately, you just you read, right? You read the thing and then you thought about what you read. It's almost it's funny to ask somebody to like explain like, oh, like what's your process? Because ultimately it distills down into like, well, I read what I read it and then I thought about it and I understood it. And then yeah, like you do all the stuff Taylor said. It's the mechanical stuff of like, well, yeah, you're like connecting ideas to the sentences that you read, but that's just reading. That's just reading carefully, right? There's no top secret way to do it. Cool. Anyway, thanks Taylor for your input there. Um, sure. Yeah. Look, folks, we got this one right. It just kind of answers one of the questions that we had left from what we read, which is, oh, okay, like how are they hanging out in the pouch? Are they okay in the pouch? And then does their skin eventually get thicker? The second one remains unanswered. At least we answered the first one, right? The pouch helps out. The pouch helps out. Cool. Um, all right. Any questions on this question? Everybody that has their hand raised, or are these volunteers? Melissa, I think, super has a question about this one. But Juan, Christiana, and Kristen, do you have questions about this question, or are you just getting in the line? Just getting in line. Okay, Melissa, you are not in
This is
line. You have a question. Go ahead.
yeah. I put it in the chat, but like for questions like these, can you just put like therefore in front of the answer so that this way it becomes like a logical conclusion from the based on
Um,
the passage?
maybe. I think like it is helpful to think of like which of these answer choices, if you just added it to the passage, would like answer your question, right? I'm not sure
Mhm.
if you need to put it therefore in front of it. I don't think that D is a conclusion. I don't think that's something we're concluding. Therefore, usually signals, and this is not like I'm giving you hints about like what word signal stuff on the outside. No, that's mostly BS. Like, please don't use indicator words. Eric had a whole podcast. Eric and Nate did a whole podcast about indicator words recently. Don't use indicator words on the LSAT. Like when I say therefore usually signals a conclusion, I just mean in English. Like in the English language, if you're writing therefore something, you're usually concluding something. I don't think D's a conclusion here, Melissa. I think that, but
Okay.
I like your idea that like, hey, if you added D as a sentence into this, would it solve one of the problems that we have with this? Yes, right? Because again, it's like your favorite coworker that just keeps leaving stuff out of the email, right? They just left
Mhm.
out information about whether the pouch is helpful or not. It turns out the pouch is helpful, and that's how they're able to survive until the skin gets thick enough to maybe survive outside of the pouch, right? Does that answer your question, Melissa? I hope so. Seems like it did. No. Um, is this much for you? It's a paradox. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks. People have been doing the LSAT before. Didn't really feel like a paradox at first. I won't lie to you. I can usually call out a paradox question a mile away. Um, this was a weird one. This was a weird one because it didn't feel super paradoxical. It was just kind of like I had some questions. I was like, oh, okay, does the pouch help with this? Does their skin ever get thicker? Thick enough to be a normal little critter? Like, I don't know. Any of those answers to the question would have helped me. And that's not even me feeling like this is a paradox question. There's some much clearer paradox questions out there that
I
will
thought
be
it was
like,
a must
hey,
be true
no.
question when I first read it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It did almost feel like one. Yeah, I don't know. Every question on the LSAT's kind of like a must be true, right? Because it's like you're picking like the answer that must be true most of the time, unless you're explicitly being asked to not do that. But yeah, it's cool. It's weird. This is a weird paradox one. Most helps to explain. It shows you that it's a paradox. That's a good call out, Shazi. You see that? Okay. I think William was in line next because he was gracious enough to give somebody else a try because he'd already seen Dunnart's. Have you seen Informant's Identity, William?
I don't think so. Uh,
Crazy.
but
But if you've done this section, it's the same test and it's the same section. So you might have seen it before.
I
You
think
want
the
to give it a
first,
shot?
yeah, I think the first one just was like a drill question or something. I
Okay.
don't think.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, take a look at this, and then you know the drill here. Go ahead, read the thing, talk to me about it. We'll figure out is there something wrong or is it more of like a proven by the fact situation, and then we'll read the question, make a prediction, etc. You know the drill.
cool. Sweet. Thanks. So it starts off by saying, even though she thought the informant was untrustworthy, the journalist promised not to reveal his identity so long as the information he provided did not turn out to be false. So he doesn't really care that she's not a trustworthy person. Um, he's just not going to reveal his identity as long as the information he gave was not false.
Which is a hilarious and crazy condition to set to like protect your sources, right?
Yeah, because
Would
it's
you
saying
would you would you ever go to a journalist that was like, I'm not going to reveal who you are as long as what you're telling me is legit? It's like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. What if I accidentally, mix something up, and then you're like putting me on blast in front of everybody, right?
yeah, it's like she doesn't care as long as the information's truthful or
Right. That's funny.
yeah. Cool. So then it goes on to say, however, she will publicly reveal the informant's identity if she is ordered to do so by a judge or her editor. So I guess now it changes things that either the information's false and she might could reveal it, or if she's ordered by a judge or the editor to do it. So it sounds like he's not very well protected. And he has to
Yeah.
provide.
So yeah, there's like I love you. You're kind of coming up with a checklist of like, okay, what situations is this source's cover going to be blown, right? If anything that he says is false, tough, tough. And
Or
she will also let everybody know who you are if she's asked to, which is like that's tough. That's tough. Too. The judge makes sense. The editor, that's just a random person too. That's crazy. Okay, so this person's in danger. This person's in danger.
yeah.
Okay.
This, after all, the information concerns safety violations at the power plant. Okay. Thus, the journalism or journalists will surely reveal the informant's identity, even if the information is accurate. I'm,
Oh, so interesting. She's going to break one of her own rules.
I guess it's assuming that she's going to be told to by the judge or the editor because that's the only other
Yeah.
condition that it
Right.
told us.
And so what must be something the author again, this is just they left something out of the email, right? Like they're one of your clerks, your judge, and they're writing like, "Hey, this person's about to like get put on blast," right? What are they assuming here? What is going to make the judge or the editor tell her to reveal their identity?
I guess they care about the information around this power plant, like something to
Yes,
do.
exactly, right. There's got to be a principle here that they're assuming. Like there's some like compass that they're using in their guidance. This author is saying
Mhm.
if if there's information about safety about I think at something like a power plant, then the judge or the editor is going to ask for the identity of that person. So
Yeah.
they must be assuming in their head, again, they didn't put in the email, right? They're assuming in their head, oh, well, if there's any information about safety, then that's going to require the informant's identity. And therefore, she's going to be ordered to do so by the editor or the judge. And therefore, even if the information is true or false, it doesn't matter because it's a safety thing. That links to the judge and the editor ordering her to, which will make her reveal their identity.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, cool. So we've kind of like answered this question, I feel like already, right? So is there something
Uh,
wrong with the argument proven by the facts? I think it's just information's left out, right? So in your own words, well, I'm not going to make you restate it. I think we just talked about it, right? There's got to be some connection between safety
they have
violations
something
and
to, yeah.
yeah,
They have kind of some kind of stake in this power plant.
exactly, right? Or they just have a moral principle, right? Of like whoever the author is, it's not the journalist necessarily, but it's like the author's just writing, and it's like if safety's at stake, then
You got to
covers
know what
can be
things.
blown. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Yeah. So that's what the question is going to ask you, right? So the conclusion of the argument follows logically, which of the following is assumed. Answer. Just fill in the blank here. What do you think in your own words?
Um, that the judge or editor cares about where the information came from concerning safety or at the power plant.
Yeah, we're assuming that the judge or the editor will make their choice, will make their decision of whether or not they order this journalist to reveal their cover or reveal their source based on whether or not the information concerns safety, right? So they are assuming, this person is assuming, this author is assuming that if it concerns safety, the judge and the editor are uh,
Does it have to
pretty likely to be
specifically
ordered.
concern safety? Like, could it also just be they care about information regarding the power plant, technically?
Yes, 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 yes. It could be
Okay.
a power plant thing. I think a more general assumption would probably be safety. I just don't see a world where they're super concerned with the power plant. But yeah, you're right. Like if it's like, oh, if there's anything to do with this power plant, then then it's gonna come out, right? Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
I
either the
agree. I
safety
was
or the
just
power plant.
covering all bases, but yeah.
Yes, agree. if it's either, so they're assuming either something about safety or something about the power plant will probably force the judge or the editor's hand to ask this journalist to reveal their source. Yes, that's exactly what this author is assuming. Cool. So we're just looking for that prediction now. So go ahead, William. Go ahead. Give me a yay or nay on each answer choice. What about A?
Does the information the informant provided is false? Well, it says even if the information's accurate, so we know that's irrelevant.
Yes, right. We're looking for an answer choice that shows us why she might reveal this person, whether or not the information is accurate. So knowing it to be false doesn't help us here. We need to know in what situation would
That
she
would,
actually, yeah.
I mean, that would actually, if the information is false, then that wouldn't help at all because then it breaks the rule that told us in the first sentence that they would protect him.
Well, no, she said she would blow your cover if your stuff is wrong. She did say that. So that's why it doesn't help us.
Yeah, I read that backwards. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
either way,
that's why
it
yeah,
still doesn't
yeah.
tailor the conclusion that,
No.
yeah.
Yes, because the conclusion is saying even if the information is accurate, she's definitely going to blow their cover. It doesn't help us to know whether the information is true or false.
Because
It
then it
just
would
doesn't
have
help
been
us.
blown already.
It would have been
Yeah.
blown already. There is
I,
no surely will reveal. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's get rid of A.
the next one says the journalist's editor will not order her to reveal the informant's identity unless the information is accurate and concerns the public safety. So yeah, it's kind of like what we predicted, that it's concerning public safety, so therefore they're required to order it, and it tells us the information is regarding safety concerns in the second to last sentence.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that part is great. What you just said is great.
Oh,
There's a
shit.
part of this answer choice I don't like.
Will order her to reveal the informant's identity. Oh, unless shit.
Right? Unless the information is accurate, that breaks one of our. That's one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to show what must be assumed. What must we be assuming that would result in the journalist revealing the source, regardless of whether the information is accurate or not. So if we're assuming that it's either wrong or right, that's not helpful to us.
Is
That's
it
just
saying?
not helpful to us. The journalist
Oh,
editor won't order her to reveal the identity unless the
yeah.
information is accurate. So we're assuming the information is accurate now. That doesn't help us. We want to know, will she reveal them if it's wrong or right?
Yeah, I completely misread that and went too quickly.
No problem. You got to the good part. You got to the part we like, concerns public safety. Yeah, but then you just kind of skimmed over the rough, right? Like unless the information is accurate. Well, no, that's not the fun part, right? We're trying to solve this fun puzzle of like, okay, what do we have to assume to make the journalist reveal the identity, regardless of the truth of the information? Because we've already been told something about the truth, right? She won't reveal you as long as your stuff's not false.
Yeah.
But then the puzzle becomes, okay, why will she surely reveal you even if your stuff is right? Well, what you predicted, right? That there's something about safety at this power plant that will make one of these two people, the judge or the editor, make you reveal your source, regardless of the truth of the information.
So it's just the unless the information is accurate part that
That
nullifies
is what
it.
makes B wrong. Yes, those 5 words, 6 words, no, 5 words, unless the information is accurate, makes B wrong.
Hey, could I ask a quick question about this answer?
Please.
I just wanted to add, wouldn't the word and also make it wrong because it's saying that both conditions need to be met in order for this to happen, which isn't what the argument's saying. It's saying either this could happen, which could end up making her reveal the identity, or it could be this instead of using the word and, meaning both conditions need to
To
be met.
Yeah, so to be clear, let's read the question again. I didn't see who just spoke. I didn't see your name. Where are you, person? There's so many gosh darn
Right
people in
here,
this room.
Sam.
Where are you, Sam? Do I see your face?
It's
Are
me?
you on my
Yeah,
screen?
my camera's on.
Okay, well, there's just other. I guess that Zoom is just
Switch it
like
to switch it to the
we don't.
single speaker mode, and you'll see him pop up when he
Oh,
talks.
okay, my bad, my bad. Active speaker. Okay, Sam, come back.
Hey, what's going on?
Okay, hey Sam. Oh, it's Sam. Sam's always yelling at me about answer choices. Okay, yeah. Hey Sam. I want to ask you to read the question to me one time. Just read me the question. What are we trying to answer here?
Okay, I was just asking like the word
No,
and.
not your question. My answer to
Oh,
your question is a question. Read me the question itself.
the question. Okay, the conclusion of the argument follows logically if Which one? Oh, it's a sufficient assumption. Got you. My bad.
The conclusion, right? What is the conclusion in this passage?
The conclusion is that the journalist is going to reveal the identity,
It's this last
even
sentence, right? The
even if
journalist
it's
is going to reveal
accurate.
the
Oh,
identity
okay.
regardless of
Got
whether
you.
the information is accurate or not, right? So we actually
Yeah.
don't care about the world in which the information is false. We don't care because we've been told that sure, she may or may not reveal the identity if it's false or not. That's not what's interesting to us. The conclusion here is she's going to reveal the identity even if it's accurate. That's cool. Okay, that's cool because that's counterintuitive, right? It's like, wait, she promised not to reveal it, right? As long as it's true. And then we're concluding, she's going to reveal it even if it's true, regardless if it's true or false. So then there must be this connection between what the judge or the editor might ask her to do and this power plant situation, right? That's what's cool about
Okay.
this question. So which of these follows logically? The conclusion follows logically. Blah blah blah. You're exactly right. You restated William and I's objection to B. The fact that the B links the information being accurate and the public safety as both true conditions to reveal the source is not correct. We need to reveal the source regardless of whether the information is true or not. So you're right, and is what's wrong, but it's also what comes before and that's wrong, right? What are we adding? We're adding unless the information is accurate. That's wrong. That's just not relevant here. We're not looking for that. Does that make sense?
Right, because the conclusion's already disqualifying it. I get
The
it.
conclusion, yeah, the conclusion is asking you, hey, what would make her reveal it even if it was true or false,
Right.
regardless if it was true or false. Great. Okay,
Got
so
it.
we've
Thank you.
thoroughly dismissed B. No, thanks, Sam. And if you had that question, Sam, somebody else had it. So thank you for asking. Back to you, William. C. How do you feel?
It says if the information concerns safety at the power plant, a judge will order the journalist to reveal her informant's identity. I mean, that's
A
what we
judge will order. Yes, that's exactly what what we were looking for, right? This outcome will happen
no matter
if,
what,
no matter what, no matter whether the
regardless
truth,
of
yeah,
information's truthfulness.
regardless of whether the information's right or wrong, if somebody's whistleblowing on power plant safety, a judge will intervene. This is exactly the kind of divine intervention or judicial intervention we were looking for here, right? Regardless of whether the argument's true or false, regardless of what the journalist actually wants to do,
Hmm.
if the source relates to power plant safety, a judge will intervene. Exactly the solution we're looking for here. This solves the puzzle. This solves the puzzle.
Yeah.
So just humor me and just dismiss D&E for me.
Yeah. It says D says the truth of the information provided by the informant can be verified only if the informant's identity is publicly verified. We don't care if it can be verified or not. We only care
We
about
don't
the
care.
identity.
Yes, we care about this outcome, right? We're trying to solve for this outcome. We're trying to see, okay, what must this person writing this be assuming in order to write the conclusion, the outcome that, the journalist is going to reveal their source, right? Verifying the truth of the information, not relevant here. We want to see what would make her reveal her source, regardless whether the information is true or false. What about you?
And then E says the informant understood at the time the journalist promised him confidentiality that she would break this promise if ordered to do so by a judge. Um, well, it's a okay. The informant understood. I don't think him understanding whether or not she would break this promise changes the fact that she's surely going to reveal the identity because
Well, and specifically, it doesn't tell us a reason why she would. This could be true. Like E could be true, right?
yeah, like
Um,
it doesn't break the conclusion necessarily though.
it doesn't break or it doesn't mend or break, right? My big thing is like, hey, are we helping? Or are we hurting? Like, it doesn't do either, right? It doesn't hurt the conclusion. It doesn't help the conclusion. The informant could have understood this. They could have signed a waiver. That doesn't help us figure out the conclusion of the journalist is for sure going to reveal the source. Just because the informant understood that there may be a possibility of doing that doesn't
Yeah,
explain why we now know, apparently,
it's
that the
100%.
that the journalist is going to reveal the source, right? C gives us a reason why. It's like, oh shoot, if it's about public safety, like power plant public safety, you're gonna
Yeah.
get revealed, bro. You're gonna get revealed. there's no ifs and no buts about it. Yeah, this guy's in danger. This guy's in danger.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
cool. Okay. Any questions about this question particularly for me and William here? Melissa, do you have a question about this one?
Yes. I
Yeah,
have
go
a
ahead.
hard time like making predictions for these types of questions.
No problem.
Is there any like Is there any way that you would kind of guide someone to making a prediction for this kind of question?
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually ask William to answer this because he just did it and he's a student too. But I'm just gonna jump in with my 2 cents, which is I think people get caught up in the mechanics of making a prediction. Um, am I doing it the right way as if it's a formal process? Folks, all we're asking you to do when we ask you to make a prediction is to pause after you've read the passage and just think about what you've read. That's like the groundbreaking, and that's like why our students improve their scores by 30 points, 40 points even, right? Like people just don't get that. Like, and I'm not that's not students' fault, right? That's like other programs and other teachers and tutors out there in the world. They're just not telling people that like this is a reading test. And so if you can build in little pauses for yourself of like, okay, I read the passage, let me just pause and figure out, did I understand what I just read? And then you take a second, you read the question, you're like, okay, what do I know about what I just read? Because folks, you read 3 sentences. Like you can hold 3 sentences in your head, right? You still newsflash, you still remember what you just read 3 sentences ago. You do, I promise. You're grown-up adult human beings. You know what you just read 3 sentences ago. So then you read the question. And so when we're saying make a prediction, we're saying, okay, given now the question, given the context of what we're trying to answer here, think back to 5 seconds ago, what you just read, those 3 sentences. What do you know? What do you remember about those 3 sentences that could help you answer the question? So, and I'm going to turn to William in a second, but like my hunch is, William, all it took, correct me if I'm wrong here, you read the question, you're like, okay, let me think back to what I just read. What must this person be assuming? Well, there's got to be a connection between this power plant and these judges or editors, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would even
Go
say
ahead.
before the question, you can read like for this specific question that is, it tells you basically two rules about like this informant's identity. Like he's not gonna the journalist won't rat him out if the information is truthful is number one, and number two, she has to if she's ordered to do so by a judge or editor. So it gives you those two like I guess premises or rules or whatever
Yeah,
you want to call it. And then tells you what this information that the journalist is writing about is concerning. So that's all you that like that's like fact. And then it tells you, well, now she's surely going to rat him out no matter whether the information's right or wrong. When I read that, I'm like, wait a minute, why? Because like what's the connection between
right.
like you're told two rules and then what the information's about, and then now no matter what happens, 100% we're ratting this guy out. Like why? And like I don't I mean, this is something I'm still working on as well, but like for this question, it kind of jumped out at me like, okay, well, this has obviously got to be something about this power plant, something about the safety at the power plant has got to be of importance here. Like there's got to be some stakeholders like the judge or the editor or both that require this to know where this information is coming from to then make a decision on it. So,
Exactly.
but getting to that conclusion, it makes zero sense otherwise why you would rat him out based on what you were previously told. So
Does
like
that help, Melissa?
I don't think there's like a one
A
size fits
lot.
all answer for how to make these predictions because the
There's
question
not.
is so
Yeah.
drastically different, links and content and this and that. It's just like
Well, and
sometimes
also, William, everybody's brain also works differently, right? So, like,
that's
I'm not gonna prescribe a one size fits all, like formal, like checklist, like as if you're like fixing a pipe in your house, right? This you can't like watch a YouTube like if you're fixing a pipe or fixing your shower or like mowing your lawn, you can watch a video of like, okay, how do I do this step by step by step? That's not what this test is. There's no step by step solution, one size fits all solution. I love how William said that, right? I need you to engage with the words that you're reading, right? And this is again, this isn't for Melissa, this is for everybody, right? Everybody watching. I need you to engage with the words you're reading. Like you will get so much better at this test if you stop worrying about, pardon my French, the bullshit, right? You're gonna stop worrying about all the bullshit of like, I'm gonna read the question first, and it's never A or E, so I'm gonna eliminate A or E and improve my chances of getting this question right by 30%. Like, no, stop, dude. Stop fucking around with all that, right? Just for the love of God, read what you're reading and understand what you're reading. Like, please, if you do me one favor, just slow down, read and understand what you're reading, and then engage with that. Engage with the words on the page. If you just take a second after you read the passage and go, did I get it? What can I conclude here? Right? What is reasonable to conclude here? Just like William did. You don't have to read the question. It jumps out at you. Whoa, there's a connection here between the power plant safety and her being forced to, her hand being forced, right? If you just think about and I love somebody in the chat just said, hey, I love how you just said the questions are a puzzle to solve. We actually use that terminology here. We say solve. Solve the question. Solve the question because they are all little puzzles. And folks, you gotta like doing puzzles. You're sitting here on a Saturday afternoon with my ugly mug, right? Like you gotta like solving puzzles because you're here working on the LSAT on the weekend. You want to take the LSAT, which sucks. You want to be a lawyer, which sucks, right? You want to go to law school, which sucks. So there is something in there where you have to be like, I know all this stuff sucks, but gee, I really like reading word puzzles and solving. You're a nerd. You have to be a nerd to want to do this, folks. So then are you trying to approach this not like a nerd? If you are a nerd, which I know you are because you're here on Saturday with me, um, read the thing. Enjoy reading the test. That's okay. You can enjoy reading and doing these questions. There's no shortcut formula, one size checklist that's going to improve your score. You know what's going to improve your score? Slowing the heck down, reading what you're reading and understanding what you're reading, engaging with what you're reading, and then solving the questions. Solving the questions, right? And that's like I think this is a good time to. I'll let my teammates kind of catch up on the chat because I love it, folks. Keep engaging with us in the chat. We're going to try our best to keep up with your questions, but I'm going to take a second and go. If you like this approach, if you like the approach of like, I don't need some program or like some regiment to like fix my LSAT score, right? There's nothing to fix. We're going to teach you to read slowly, understand what you're reading, and we're gonna be there by your side in classes or even after class. Like we have this great Discord thing that we got going on. Like there's a community. You have the Ask button. You have all of it, the teachers and tutors. You have the community of students as well. Like folks, our big pitch, and this is my version of the sales pitch, and trust me, I'm not making any money off of this, right? My way to pitch you is we don't want your money. We don't want your money, right? If you're still in college, delete your Zoom, like close out right now, go study for finals. If you're still in college, we don't want you here because the biggest thing you could do to improve your LSAT or your law school process, your law school application process is focus on your grades, get a 4.0 every semester you can. If you're still in school, you still have a chance to do that. Shout out to all the folks who applied many, many years after graduating college. God bless you. We wish we could go back and change our GPAs. So if you're still in school, please, for the love of God, delete your LSAT subscription, LSAT Demon subscription. Never pick up an LSAT book again until you graduate and you get as good of a grade as you can get in your last few semesters. So that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is we don't actually want your money, right? We're actually interested in helping you through the process of navigating this skewed, screwed up system. We live in a world where law school is way, way too expensive. And they are trying to milk people for everything they have. They're trying to get you into student loan debt. They're trying to get you to take $300,000, $400,000 in debt out to go study at their mediocre law school where you're not even guaranteed a decent job after, right? So what's our promise to you? Our promise to you is that we are actually and actively invested in your success. We don't do this for the money. We do this for the sake of you guys, right? There's so many students out there, so many LSAT, not demon students, LSAT students out there who think they can only improve their score by 5 points or 10 points. There's law school advisors out there. There's pre-law advisors out there that are telling undergrad students right now, hey, you got a diagnostic score of a 150 something or 160 something. Congrats. Most people don't improve on their LSAT score, right? That's crazy talk. That's complete nonsense because it turns out if you slow down, you read, you understand what you read, and you take your time, you get your reps in. The only way to get better at doing the LSAT is doing LSAT questions, right? Newsflash. No amount of coming to class will help you. No amount of whatever will help you, right? The best way to get better at the LSAT is doing LSAT questions. So our whole thing is, look, you don't like this, don't come. We don't need you. We don't want you. You can take our advice. You can go, if you want to do this for free, check this out, right? Go to the library, check out their old ass LSAT books for free, probably from your public library. And here, this is my spiel time. Let me stop sharing my screen because the demon's yelling at me now. How do I do that? Stop sharing my screen, please. Oh, there we go. Stop sharing. Okay. I want to look you in the eyes when I tell you this, right? We don't want your money. Go to the library, check out an LSAT book. They're going to be like 4 or 5 years old. They're not going to be super helpful. Do a bunch of LSAT questions. Take our advice. Slow down, understand what you're reading, and engage with what's in front of you. Your LSAT score will go up. I promise you. I promise you. That's free advice. This class is free, and that's free advice, and it will work because it turns out this is a reading test. Now, my real advice is don't do that, right? Because it turns out that being in a community, coming to class every day, working with the teachers and tutors that we have on staff, right? We're going to give you advice. We're going to be the voice on you. We're going to be a little demon on your shoulder, right? Every time you do an LSAT question, you're going to have us in your head. and it's going to be Nate or Ben or me or Kaylee or Billy yelling at you going, slow down, slow the heck down. Did you understand what you just read, right? You're going to hear my awesome voice, awesome or awful, depending on how you think. You're going to hear my voice in your head when you're doing the test, and you're going to slow down. You're going to engage with your reading. You're going to do better, right? So people that come to class really love it. It's a great value proposition. It's only a couple $100, but you get unlimited classes all week long, no matter what your schedule is, whether you work full time or whether you are a student or whatever. There's always a class for you. But like again, guys, we're not like if it tries for a month and if you don't like it, cancel your subscription. Like that's fine. We're not going to pitch you. We're not going to beg to keep you. Our thing is we're investing. So if you want a team behind you to like work with you on the whole process, we have classes coming up that are going to talk to you about like the application process. You can work with the teachers and tutors. We're all actively either in the process of applying or already have applied, right? I got into every T14 law school that there is except for Harvard and Yale. Sad. So except for those two, but everything else I got into. So like we are real resources for you guys, right? We are real law students. We are real law appliers, right? We got Chris and Matt Dumont who've been already graduated. We got other people on the staff that have already graduated. They give you law school advice. They give you advice about how to do this application. My pitch is like, don't think we're a company trying to pitch you to get money from you. We're a company trying to help. We actually just do genuinely care. And I know that sounds cheesy, you can tell, but I think if you're looking at the price, and you're like, damn, that's kind of expensive. Think about how much money you might pay a tutor for an hour of their time. It's going to be more than that, or a few hours of their time. I don't know, a couple times a week or a couple times a month. It's going to be more than that. And then think about how much money you're going to save. Our whole thing is the better you do on your LSAT, the cheaper law school is going to be for you, right? If you can get a score in the high 160s, high 170s, and instead, if you're instead going to apply with a score in the 150s, we will help you change your life. Applying with a 170 over 150, you're going to get scholarships to law school. You're going to get into better law schools that help you improve your employment outcomes. Your financial future is going to improve. So if you're looking at the price of the subscription, you go, $200 or $300, like whatever, not worth it. Well, okay, fair enough. But a couple LSAT points can buy you 10, 20 grand in law school scholarships. So the proposition is a few months of studying with us will get you 10 or 20 grand at least. That's only a couple points of improvement. But what we do is we almost guarantee, like, if you stick with us long enough, like it works if you work it kind of thing. If you're with us long enough, you're going to improve by 20, 30 points. People walk in with a diagnostic of 140, they get to 170. People start with a diagnostic starting with a 1.3. There's like people in 135, 138, they get their scores in the high 160s and low 170s. So that could be you. That could be you, right? You could come to us with a diagnostic of a 130, 140, 150. We're going to get you into the 160s and 170s. And it's not even a guarantee. It's just we're going to tell you to slow down. We're going to tell you to understand what you're reading. We're going to work with you on strategies of like how to do that, how to avoid the timer, how to kind of strategize about the test a little bit for sure. But our biggest thing is we will be your partners in this. We're going to work with you to make sure that this application process goes in your favor. Not only will you get into better schools, but hopefully you save some money. Because folks, like 300 grand in debt for this career, don't do it. Our first advice is actually don't go to law school. And then we say don't pay for law school. That's our big thing is we don't want you to pay for law school. So if that sounds appealing to you, try us out for a month. There's a bunch of tiers. You don't have to start on premium. Start on basic, start on whatever. There's a free account. If you can make a free account, I don't know if you already have one to be here. I think you might have to have one to be here. But try premium, try live for a month. Again, if it's not worth it, don't worry. Go back to the library. Like, do it yourself. I believe in you. I know you can do it yourself. We'll make it a heck of a lot easier, though. We'll make it a heck of a lot easier. And then the other thing is that instant feedback on our interface. Our interface is beautiful. It's the best LSAT interface I've ever interacted with. Bubbling in the answers, tracking them out, and then getting that instant feedback of like, hey, how'd you do? You have an explanation video from Ben or Nate or one of our great teachers on staff. We're going to help you with any questions you struggle with. We're going to instantly give you feedback on did you do well or not on this question. We have written explanations and video explanations and the ask button. People love the ask button, right? Because if the written or the video explanations don't help you, then you can just type and talk to a real human. It's like it's me and Kaylee and Billy. It's like all of us. It's Amina, right? Like it's real teachers that we also help answer ask button questions on. So those come to us. They kind of come straight to us. So there's a great community here to support you. That's the value proposition. It's just super worth it to a lot of people. So we're coming up on the last few minutes. We didn't get to the third question today. That's okay. Everybody that came and joined me today, I really appreciate it. There's no small feat and it's no small ask to come and spend time with me and the team here on your Saturday afternoon. So I truly, truly appreciate that. And I think you're making a great investment in your future because you're taking this seriously, right? My hunch is you probably care and you probably want this to work out. You want to get to a good law school. You want to hopefully get a scholarship. You want a great career as an attorney. So you're here on your Saturday grinding with us. My value prop is, hey, come grind with us. I teach at 9 p.m. on Thursdays for those hard workers that are coming home from work and have kids. And after the kids are in bed, you made dinner. Come join me on Thursdays at 9 p.m. There's a siren going outside my window right now. I apologize. There's classes at all times of day. I think Kaylee teaches a really cool lunch break class where like literally if you just have a few minutes on your lunch break, come join her, right? At noon or noon 30 on a random work day. It's literally 5 days a week. Like, come join us, folks. We are here for you. We're a resource for you. I'm going to stick around for 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to answer your questions, but I really do genuinely want to thank you guys for joining me. And I want to thank, obviously, the team. Obviously, none of us can do it alone, right? We are all working together. We have our little Slack, our little, team Slack. We're always slacking each other, helping each other out. And I couldn't have done this class. Thank you for everybody that helped with the chat. Goodness gracious, if I tried to keep up with a chat of 300 people, I would lose my mind. I barely can keep up with a chat of 60 people that come to my class usually. So thanks to the team. Shoot any more questions. Stick around. We're going to be here for a little bit. Shoot any questions you have on the chat, and I'll answer some questions here on camera as well. So I see Melissa's hand first, and then Jordan and Haley. Go ahead, Melissa.
Mine's not really a question, but really a comment. It's, first of all, like I posted it in the chat anyhow. So I had a diagnostic score of a 145, which is about average for
very normal score. Yeah.
And I went and I used a different prep company, LSAT Max, and my score actually went down to 129 because I was so confused. And now I'm averaging about a 153, a 159. So like I'm still going, but it's already
you're gonna get to the 170s,
like
Melissa. You're gonna get to the 170s. You started with a 140 something. We're gonna get you to 170 something. That's like almost no question, truly. And again, I'm not gonna say anything bad about anybody else because hey, we're all out here trying to help people, and I'm sure they have the best intentions in mind. The problem with other programs is that these little like tips and tricks, like read the question first, read the answer choices first,
diagramming,
they detract from the substance of the exam, which is read the words in front of you, right? It turns out it's counterproductive sometimes. So yeah.
A lot of times also when I do the ask button, as soon as I start typing, then I kind of figure it out like as I'm going then. And then I never actually
we would estimate it's like a 3 or 4 to 1 ratio. We have like this like unofficial estimate of like for every 3 people that open an ask button chat, only 1 of those gets actually sent because it turns out when you're thinking it through writing down your question, you're like, oh, wait, so this is my question and this is what's like, oh, okay, no, I answered myself. So you're not alone there, Melissa, but it's a great resource in case it's one of the 3 times that it doesn't work out. Go ahead and hit send. One of us real people will answer you back and go, hey, here's a different way to think about it. We'll help you out. Awesome. Well, thanks for that. No, thanks for your comment, Melissa. No, I think that you're not the only one out there. I hope that relates to, or people relate to that. Yeah, Jordan, what's up?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
So my issue is that with the questions, I always when it gets down to the prediction, I select something and then I doubt myself. And when I do pick the answer, I get it wrong. But the first answer that I would have picked would have been right.
Yeah.
So I don't know if something's in the passage that messes with my mind. So I have a little bit of doubt. It doesn't happen all the time, but I'm at probably -6, -7 in a section right now.
Sure. And Jordan, you're not alone there, right? Every day, every week, tutoring students and students in class will come to me and go, they have the same question. Abhi, I do pretty well on most of the tests, and then a handful of questions every section. I can't decide, right? I'm having this trouble deciding. 2 things usually help, right? 1, Jordan, I think I have a hunch that on the ones that you have some intuition, you have some understanding, but then you decide to go against it, or you have doubt and then you miss it. My hunch is that you're worried more about trying to justify the answer choice rather than trying to figure out, okay, well, 4 of these are wrong. So can I come up with an explicit reason to dismiss 4 of these? And then the one I'm left with, if I can't dismiss it, chances are it's probably the right one, right? Because sometimes the answer choices just suck. Like sometimes they're just not great answers and it's not necessarily what you'd have predicted. It's not necessarily what would have been intuitive to pick. Or or your intuition did lead to that, but then you fell into the trap of, well, you liked B, but then you got to D, and all of a sudden you're justifying D to yourself. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does that happen?
No, that happened like on the first question that we did. I actually picked B because it was talking about the skin, and if they were warmer than other animals, then maybe their skin would cool them down, you
Right.
know. So and then I figured, okay, yeah, they're in the mother's pouch, so that's going to be really warm. So I picked the mother's pouch. I picked B, and then mother's pouch was the answer.
Right, exactly. And it gets to the point where instead of trying to justify B, I'd rather you ask yourself for all five answer choices, A through E, I'd rather ask yourself, hey, what's wrong with this? Because statistically, the one you're reading at any given time is wrong, right? 80% of answer choices are wrong, definitionally. There's four wrong ones for every one right one. So I want you to kind of change your mindset. Like, instead of giving the LSAT the benefit of the doubt, not that you're doing that, but I have a hunch that that may be the case, especially for these wordier ones. If you're giving it the benefit of the doubt and you're saying, hey, what could make this answer choice right? I want you to instead to think, what makes this answer choice wrong? If you have trouble figuring out why it's wrong, it may be right. And if you can come up with a reason why the other four are wrong, they're probably wrong, right? The other thing I want you to try doing is make a decision on the answer. It sounds like you did here. So you maybe bubbled in B and then you got to D. What happened when you got to D? How'd you make the decision on D?
When I got to D, I picked B for an like I picked originally, sorry, I picked D and then I doubted D and then I went back and picked B and got the wrong answer.
That's tough. That's
My
tough.
first intuition was the right answer, but then I doubted myself.
Yeah. Well, and you get, and again, I'm not going to just say blanket statement, trust your intuition because our intuition's all over the place. But there's got to be something about you read B and you didn't like something about it that made you not want to pick it, right? If you
Right.
isolate what that is about an answer choice, if you the first time you read an answer choice, you don't like something about it, it's going to have to work really hard to overcome that because again, we're shifting our mindset to instead of looking for the right answer, we're actually trying to eliminate the wrong ones. If something about B jumped out to you as an incorrect answer,
Right.
you need to raise the bar of what it's going to take for a wrong answer to
Yeah.
convince you it's right.
Well, the questions like what weakens the argument, what makes the argument more positive, those questions are easy for me. But
Sure.
other questions like this, I'm finding it hard, to grasp them.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, that first one was a weird one. It was a paradox. It didn't jump out to me as a paradox right away. But I think ultimately, if you, instead of thinking about question types, if you just think about you're reading the argument of the passage and you're coming to some conclusion about it, and you're thinking, okay, there's information missing here. I have questions, right? Ultimately, any answer choice is going to be like, what answers your question about this passage? It almost doesn't matter what the question even really asks you. It doesn't matter what the question type is. If you're engaging with what you're reading and your takeaway from what we read about the marsupials is, oh, that's interesting. Like, I wonder if the mother's pouch solves for this. It does. And I wonder if their skin ever gets any thicker, right? That remained unclear. And one of the answer choices would just, yeah, the mother's pouch solves for it. Great. It answered one of our questions about the passage. And
Right.
that's sometimes all it takes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course not. Haley, what you got?
Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear?
Awesome. Just a quick question about the live classes.
Yeah.
How many students usually go to any given class?
Oh, it's all over the place, right? Depends on the time of day. So Thursday evenings could be 30 or 40 people, or sometimes it's 60. Monday evenings could be 34 people, sometimes it's 60. Saturday afternoons, usually 20 or 30, right? It's less busy. Depends on the time of day, depends on the day of the week. The beauty is that as a live student, you can pick and choose, you can log in at your leisure, you can jump in, and if there's too many people in there and you're freaked out by that, don't worry, jump out. Like I won't ever see it, right? Or if it's a small class and you're like, oh, I don't want small classes, I don't want big classes. Like, don't worry, blip in and out. The first week or so of live, you can test out what times work for you, what days work for you, what classes, what teachers you vibe with, right? You might meet me and you're like, dude, that guy sucks. And then you go to like Kaylee or Billy's class and you're like, those people rock. They're much nicer than me. That's generally true. But I'm changing that. In 2025, I'm the nice teacher. So new year, new me, I'm going to be nice. But Kaylee and Billy have a head start. They're nicer than me. So you go to their class and you're like, I vibe with these people. They're really nice. Great. Go to their class every week. You're not hurt my feelings if you don't come to my class. The beauty of live is it's flexible for you. And then even with premium, so even if you decide not to go to live, with premium, you're going to get recordings of every class. So if you decide, hey, live is too much work, I'm never going to actually be there in person for these classes, no problem. Save money. Again, we don't want your money. Like if live doesn't work with your life, take premium, save money, and then watch the video recordings. Now, the downside is I think you get a ton of value if you come to live and then you interact with us. That's free. It's free tutoring. It's free tutoring. And we're expensive. We're like $200 or $300 an hour if you get one-on-one time with us, right? So we're like, hey, we're not cheap, right? So if you pay for live, which like for a month you're paying for essentially that's the same as an hour of tutoring. You come to live and you come to all of our
Mhm.
class and you ask us a question or you do a question with us in person, you're getting $100 of value right there. So not that everything's about money. I hate putting things in terms of money, but it's just like, geez, as a student, I would love that, right? The interaction and the help you get, right? In person help you get. But again, if it doesn't work out, don't worry. That's what premium's for. You get every video recording, no problem, and access to every
Awesome.
question that exists. So yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. Jeffrey, what you got? Jeffrey disappeared. Sad.
Can you
Um,
hear me? Can you
oh
hear
yeah,
me?
loud and clear. Go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the class. Uh, I was the one who asked about how you're making a prediction, and the way it's explained, it just seems like it's intuition, which is just reading it and pausing. I mean that. But I'm
It
confused.
depends on how you define intuition, Jeffrey, right? So if in this world, if you're defining intuition as you're a grown up, you're an educated adult, you read sentences, you come to a reasonable conclusion about those sentences, and then judge which answers are correct based on your understanding of those sentences, then yes, we're talking about intuition, right? But if you define intuition differently, it may or may not be intuition. So sorry to interrupt, but I just think that's a clarification. There is if we're defining intuition as reading carefully, understanding what you're reading, and then making judgments based on what you read, then yes, we're talking about intuition.
Okay. But like I'm still a bit confused about like what are we making this prediction on? Because we haven't even read the question, so we won't even know what the potential answers would be if we like how would we make a prediction on something on the right answer if we don't even know what the question is asking about? And sometimes like even
Yeah,
the Buzzard's question, the question was completely different from what you predicted it would be
no
on the
problem.
first yeah on the
And,
marsupials and that would yeah.
and that's okay, right? I don't really need to predict the question. When Taylor and I read through the marsupial question, the understanding we got from it, and then the understanding we got from trying to predict, hey, what are we missing here? Well, we were missing, does their skin eventually get thick enough to be considered normal? And we were also missing, hey, how does the pouch interact with all this, right? So in making a prediction, we took a second and we understood, hey, what are we missing here? That is 99% of the work, 99% of the work on answering the LSAT questions, right? And Jeffrey, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how little help the question really is. The LSAT's a closed test. So one of the understandings that you must have when you do this test is there is no information outside of the couple sentences you read. For instance, in logical reasoning, there's a couple sentences in the argument. That is your world. For the next 45 to 60 seconds as you answer the question, your world consists of those two sentences. So it doesn't matter what the question is. You have to read those sentences and figure out what are they concluding? Are they connected? What are they leaving out? If there's a conclusion, if it's three sentences and it's like it states something, and then it concludes something, before you even read the question, I want you to ask because hey, guess what? You're a lawyer, right? You're going to be a lawyer, so I need you to read that last sentence and go, is what they're concluding the idea they're arriving at supported by what they just told me? Have they proved their point, right? Because newsflash, folks, right? And this isn't, I'm not just trying to target you, Jeffrey. Like newsflash, right? You're going to be an attorney. People are going to hand you a legal document, or in law school, you're going to read a case. There's not going to be a question. You're going to have to read the thing and come to a conclusion about, hey, did this make sense? What's missing? What can I conclude from this? Right? These are good questions to ask when you're reading anything, especially when you're reading in the legal context. So you're going to come to conclusions that help you before you even read the question. And then of course the question is going to ground you because you may have multiple questions when you read the passage. You're going to have multiple questions. The questions in the question, actual question in the question is going to ask then ground you. Okay, hey, what about this? And guess what? You're going to be prepared because you've done your notes, you've done your homework, you have, in your head, you have like, hey, I'm missing this, this, and this. The question's going to ground you in, hey, what about this thing? Too easy. I've already done the work. Does that help?
Yes, I mean, I have that thought process when I'm going through the question and reading the passage, I'm thinking about like this premise for first premise, second premise, third premise, and then conclusion, and whether there's any missing premises or any missing premise that needs to justify the validity of that conclusion.
Sure.
I have that thought process, but I guess I'm uh like I how I might need more practice or more a much more definite framework on how I can structure or fit those premises into a logical flow, justifying that conclusion, I guess.
I'm going to push back on that, Jeffrey. You seem to me to be a very analytical thinker. You're seeking a more rigid framework. You're seeking more structure, and I want to push back on that. I want you to understand what you're reading, and I want you to be open. I want you to be open to multiple different conclusions or multiple different questions based on what you're reading. There's not going to be a framework that you can develop, even how premises fit into conclusions on this exam, that will help you on every question, right? So you may get in the short term, you may get some benefit from developing a rigid structure, a rigid framework that you're trying to apply to every question, or that you're trying to figure out like how premises fit into conclusions. That's going to help you in the short term. In the long term, there's going to be wordy questions and wordy answer choices and wordy passages that don't quite fit into that rigid structure, right? And it's going to challenge what you're going to, the box that you're trying to fit these ideas into. It's going to help you in the long term if you're a little bit more flexible with the questions you're asking. The questions I want you to ask, rather than what's the premise, what's the conclusion, I want you to ask, did what I just did what I just read make sense? Does that make sense? I'm trying to
Yeah,
push you to be a little bit more flexible.
does what do I read just make sense? I mean, and when I was going through the marsupials question,
Yeah.
um, the breathing initially, whether they could breathe or not through their skin and or suffocate, that threw me off actually and got me the wrong answer. But
Sure.
being more flexible, uh, kind of like brings in some of my background knowledge, which I'm not supposed to do in the LSAT. I've been told multiple like by multiple sources not to bring in outside background knowledge or expert.
Yeah.
Um,
On the contrary, I think being flexible helps you keep all that outside knowledge away. It helps keep you from drawing conclusions that you shouldn't be drawing because you're trying to bring common sense into this LSAT, right? I would actually push back and say being flexible and relying only on the sentences that you've read and asking yourself, do those sentences in the context of these two sentences or three sentences existing together, does that make sense? If you are flexible and you go, okay, I guess these critters breathe through their skin. I don't know. I've never heard of a desert before. I don't even know if you can breathe through your skin. That could be sci-fi for all I care, right? But I don't
yeah,
care, right? I'm taking the sentences as they are. I'm taking them as fact until I'm given a reason to not believe them. I'm reading skeptically, and then I read, and then I take a second and go, okay, given these facts, does the conclusion make sense? Or does what I read, do the facts contradict each other? Do they work together? Right? I would say asking more flexible, open-ended questions keeps you from trying to introduce common sense, what we think of as common sense, or trying to introduce facts that you may or may not know, and keeps you grounded in the weird, nonsensical sci-fi world of the LSAT. Does that make sense?
yeah. I guess yeah. All whatever world or new universe or rules the LSAT makes, I just fit myself into that universe or
Yeah.
LSAT rule
Yes. Absolutely.
as much
Absolutely.
as yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope that discussion helped, Jeffrey. But look, I think it's a process. We're going to keep working together, not just you, like everybody, right? Trying to figure out like how can we just trust our reading comprehension, right? There's no framework, there's no checklist, there's no structure that will help you. You have to understand what you read. There's no way around that. And it's not just you, Jeffrey. And I'm not even saying that's your problem. I'm just saying like I think a lot of students come to us and they're like, okay, cool, another prep program. What's my checklist this time? And our whole thing is like, there's no, please, if you want a checklist, go away. We do not have a checklist here. We will ask you, did you understand what you just read? And you're gonna hate us for it. And as kind as like Kaylee and Billy and Amina are, and as mean as I am, I'm easy to hate. Fair enough. you're gonna hate us for it because it's gonna feel like God, I hope to God it doesn't sound condescending, but you're gonna be like, I'm not in kindergarten. Stop asking me if I understood what I read. And then we're gonna do a question in class together. I swear to God, you're gonna lean towards the wrong answer. I'm gonna ask you, why did you read this way? And you're gonna go, oh, I didn't understand what I read. Or I went too fast and I misread something. And I'm not going to be mean about it because 2025 is new year, new me. Nice, Abhi, I promise. I'm going to be nice about it. I'll be more like Kaylee and Billy. But part of me is going to want to be mean about it and go, see, you didn't understand what you read. You went too fast. You misread something. So it's all about trying to bring in your natural academic, your natural reader. And you are smart people. If you read and you understand, you will not miss the question. People miss questions because they want to go too fast. They want to get through the section, and so they end up misreading or reading too fast. If you slow down, yes, you're going to get through fewer questions, but you're going to get all of them right. And then naturally, you're going to get a little bit faster because slow is smooth, smooth is fast, as we say in the military. And not only that, but you're getting speed from efficiency, not for speed's sake. You can finish the section right now. Guess C on everything. You're going to finish the section in 5 minutes. That's what it's like to us when you guys like rush through a section and pick answer choices you don't understand and miss like the last 5 or 10 questions you do in a section. But then you're like proud and you're like, see, I finished the section. And we're like, okay, I can finish the section right now. C, right? Like that's not great, right? Finishing the section is not the accomplishment. I want you to do a question, understand it, and then get it right. That's the accomplishment. And I don't care how many questions you do. You could do 10. I'd be proud of you. You could do 5. I'd be proud of you. But did you do 5 and get all 5 right? Excellent. We're on the road to progress, right? Did you do 10 and get them right? Excellent. We're on the road to progress because 5 turns to 10 turns to 15. And 15 right, newsflash, folks, for all you folks who are like, I don't believe you, Abhi. My process helps me finish the section. And then I look at your LSAT score and it's like a 140 or 150. You're getting 15 of 25 right. So if you just slowed down, pretended the section was shorter, did 15, then looked, and then we're like, oh, I still have time. And you get a 16th one right because you slowed the heck down and didn't try to rush through the section. Guess what? You just improved your score. You just got better by doing 16 questions and getting them right, than doing 25 questions and only getting 15 right. Does that math make sense, folks? It's just math. It's ultimately just math. Slow down to speed up. That's a whole thing. There's a whole article on it too. But if you do 15 and then you have a couple minutes, you do 16 and 17 maybe, and you get a couple more right because you slowed down and took your time, and you're not worried about getting to 25 questions, guess what, folks? You just improved your score. 1 or 2 extra questions that you get right per section, you just went +8. And that's the difference between a 150 and a 160. Congratulations. So it's not even, we don't really care. Like, yes, we want you to improve your score, but like, are we really concerned about that? No, we're concerned about like bringing out your natural reader and bringing out your natural, like, you can do better at this without any magic trick. Just slow the heck down. Slow the heck down. Anyway, sorry. I don't mean to pick on you, Jeffrey. You're not the
I
only one
just
doing
got
that.
a small question. So what would you say differentiates 170 or even a 180 score over a 150 score? Do they just read slower or read more carefully? Or
Yeah, no, literally that. You're gonna hate me for that. Like literally, like if you talk to a student in the 170s or anybody on our team, and you ask them, hey, what made the difference to get to the 170s versus when we all started in the 140s and 150s, right? My diagnostic was in 157. I got to a 177, 20-point improvement. I'm on the low end. I left 3 points on the board. I could have been a 23 point improvement, right? I bring dishonor to the LSAT TV family. No, literally the answer is like we slowed down because like when you're getting a score in the 150s or the 160s and you're finishing the section, but you're missing 5 questions, like what are we doing here? My smart ass answer, Jeffrey, is what differentiates somebody in the 170s, somebody who's not in the 170s. We miss fewer questions. We get paid for the work that we do. We make sure that we're cashing in on the questions that we're putting the work in for and not trying to just rush through questions and not get paid for some half-ass work, right? When you're a lawyer, your inbox has 25 emails in it. Do you get paid because you answered all 25 back quickly? Or do you get paid for answering 15 or 20 back and doing the work right and then ensuring that the work wasn't wrong on those and then taking your time on the last 5 as well, right? If you're the quickest lawyer on earth and you answer all 25 emails really, really super fast, but half the work is wrong, guess what you're going to be soon? An unemployed lawyer. You're going to get fired because accuracy is king. Speed doesn't matter. You can be the associate at the law firm that answers the quickest. But if half your shit's wrong, guess what, brother? You're going to be looking for another job soon, right? The client's going to fire you. The law partner's going to fire you. People are going to be like, wait, what? Like, what are you even thinking, right? You sent this wrong. You sent this wrong document. That's quite serious. You're a public defender and you get through the most cases. Congrats, all your clients are in prison for life. Like that's horrible. That's a horrible outcome. That actually affects real people. That's not even some stupid like business law thing where it's like, oh, we lost a client. No, that's a human life. You just screwed up somebody's human life because you wanted to be fast. Don't be fast. Be accurate. Don't be fast. Be accurate. Sorry, Jeffrey. I'll do one more question. Sorry, Billy and Kaylee. I know I'm keeping everybody late. I'll do one more question, then we're gonna call it. So, Sonia, you're next, and then we'll call it. Everybody else, reach out to us. Send us an email. Send us an email at help. Or here, let me give you my personal email. I love getting questions from you guys. It's just Abhi, my first name, Abhi, ABHI, at lsatdemon.com. If I don't get to you, but Sonia, yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, so just a little bit of intro. I am already a licensed lawyer, but I have an undergraduate.
You're just flexing on us, Sonia. Why are you
No,
flexing on us? That's
no,
crazy.
because this is
I'm just kidding.
no, seriously, because a lot of this stuff, because this is I had a whole career in the Middle East, and because I was educated in the UK, it's create like I came back to America and it's created like a massive um obstacle to my progress because even though I'm licensed, I don't have a JD and like that JD is like the holy grail for a lot of clients. So this has been quite humbling experience for me. But anyway, and further humbling was studying for the LSAT that I was supposed to take last night. And like this time last week, I was like, oh, I can totally get 20 points up on my score if I do a practice test every day. So this leads me to the question, which is obviously I withdrew from that test because I was like, my body physically would not let me do any more practice tests because my body was speaking to my mind, which was like insisting that I couldn't like magically improve these 20 points, like get these 20 points.
It's true, by the way. Your body was smart there. Sometimes our body
Yeah,
is
it was
smarter
like,
than our
don't,
mind.
no,
That's
it
true.
shut down. It was like, stop. Okay.
Good,
So I
good,
withdrew. I listened to my body. I withdrew.
good.
And then I started listening to YouTube videos. Hence, I found LSAT, Demon.
Yes.
And the
Welcome.
point that, thank you. The point that stuck with me about like the handful of videos I've listened to so far, past LSAT takers is the importance of like on-time tests.
Yeah.
So my next challenge for myself, because I have this natural tendency to like, even if I'm doing an on-time test, to rush through it, to like, time is
Yeah.
ticking. And then
Yeah.
like you've said, you screw up, you miss questions, you misread
Well,
it.
yeah, you're so worried about Russian that you end up missing questions that you probably wouldn't have gotten right anyway. So
Right, you
that's sad.
panic and all that stuff. And that's been the case when I've gone back to review. So
Sure.
I guess in an ideal world, although there is no ideal world, how often, my question is, how often or how many practice tests should we take in between the drills and the other work that we do?
There's no magic number, Sonia. There is only the number that's right for you. So depending on your schedule, you're literally a grown-up adult lawyer, attorney, licensed attorney. You're just doing the stupid test to satisfy the stupid requirements. I get it, right? I also have a hunch, side note, I have a hunch that if you slowed down, calmed down, and just did questions, you could get a stellar LSAT score because you're already literally an attorney. This is what you do for your job. So if you actually were able to divorce the stress of the test from the actual skill that it's testing, you're gonna be stellar at it. I guarantee it.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, but separate from that,
I
well, how
could
do
just be an idiot.
yeah, well, no, well, you're not, right? Obviously, you're not, right? But like, so obviously, like, how do we get there, though? That's the interesting question. How do we get there? And the question is like, you could only take, like, you could take a practice test once a week. You could do it once every 2 weeks. You could do it once a month. What I'm more concerned with is I want to see how you're doing on the drilling every day or a time section every day. We call it like a good hour a day. And for busy professionals, sometimes that good hour looks like 30 minutes. Totally fine. If you could do a time section most days of the week, take the weekends off. You're a grown up. Like, please see your friends, like, go live your life. But if you can do like 2 or 3 time sections a week, maybe a couple days of drilling, that's 5 days of prep during the week and take the weekends off, totally fine. And then every now and then, every 2 or 3 weeks, take a practice test. That will be like your check-in for how you're doing. But ultimately, our goal is like, how can we get you to do a time section without freaking out? Easiest thing to do, turn off the clock. I'm sure you've already heard that on the podcast. Turn off the clock. And then I want you to shift your mindset eventually from it's not how much time you have left, like, oh no, I only have this much time left and I'm not through enough questions. It's chug along, do as many questions as you can comfortably. And then when that 5 minute indicator comes up, I want you to think, sweet, I have 5 more minutes to do a couple more questions. If you can get that mindset shift, It's going to blow your mind. It's going to change your whole ball game. I don't care how many questions you're at when that 5 minute indicator comes on, but if we can shift the mindset to be when that thing comes on, we can't stop it. That's a real life thing on the real test. It'll say, hey, 5 minutes left. No problem. If you can shift your mindset to be sweet, I am on the LSAT question I'm on. I have 5 more minutes. I can probably do one or two more. That's awesome. That's awesome. You have more time to do more LSAT questions, right? That mindset shift, that psychological shift is all you need because I know for certain you have the skills to get every question right because you are a professional reader, you're a professional lawyer, right? Already licensed. So you can read carefully, you can read slowly. Now the question is, hey, can we get Sonia to stop thinking about the timer, stop thinking about the time, and instead think about, hey, cool, we have a question in front of us, a problem in front of us. We're going to solve it. We're going to move on. We're going to do the next one at a time. And then when the timer goes off, sweet, we have time for a couple more. That's all you need. That's all you need.
Okay, so the bottom line is that just do untimed tests, like I'm reading between the lines, because it's my next question. So when should we move from untimed tests to time tests? So you said
I
time
I
drills.
don't think you do untimed tests realistically. I think like you could just do time sections. So a time section is just one
Okay.
section of the test.
Yeah,
It
I know
still
what
has
you
the timer running, but like you're not thinking about it's 4 hour process. Yeah.
It's a
So
mindset. Yeah, I
I,
think
I don't
that,
think I don't think you
yeah,
need to worry about an untimed test. I think that's a waste of time, right? Because your whole thing is like you're already good enough at the questions, probably, right? So
yeah,
if like Monday night you sit down, you do a time section, and then you review your mistakes, and then Tuesday you do some drilling, Wednesday you do another time section, review your mistakes. Eventually you're going to build that habit of like you're going to shift that mindset of like when that timer goes off, sweet, I have a couple more minutes. That's what
yeah,
I'm mostly concerned with. I actually don't care how you do a test, how well you do a
yeah,
test. That's like a
yeah.
later problem. Yeah.
I think one of the things that, because I went to a high school that hot housed us, so we had to like learn how to, I had to unlearn how to learn. Like I had to relearn how to learn as an adult when I went to college. And like the idea of a process has been with me since I
Sure.
started this. Like it's a total process. Like when Jordan was saying, oh, I intuitively knew the right question, but I chose the wrong one,
Yeah.
you know, that's a marker, I guess, that you need to, like you said, slow down. But anyway, that's been super helpful. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'll probably join LSAT Demon soon. Okay.
Yeah. Come give us a try. Like try it for a
Thank you.
month, right? And
This was
then yeah.
fun. I read
Yeah.
you were in
Awesome,
the
man.
military, so you're giving off like drill sergeant vibes a little
Oh, I
bit.
hope not. I hope not.
No, I'm just
No.
teasing.
Well, and I'll be honest. I'm a little bit more straightforward, I think, than some of the people on the team. But hey, 2025, new year, new me. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice this year.
Luck.
All
Thank
right,
I
you.
folks.
like
I'm
the
gonna
fact that
call
you're
it. I'm gonna call it.
straightforward.
Yeah, yeah. All right,
So,
folks. I'm gonna call it here. Um, hopefully, we answered all your questions. Sorry, folks, for keeping you so late, but this was a great. This was a great time. Thanks for spending your Saturday afternoon with me. Here, I'm gonna hit the stop recording. And thanks for everybody that watched.